Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Welcome.
Very good afternoon. Hari sir, very good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, good afternoon, each and everyone, and welcome on behalf of GAD-TLC. It's the Center of Ministry of Education. I welcome all of you, sir and ma'am. Josna ma'am is yet to join, I think. I cannot see her right now. Yeah, I can see Renuka ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
I think the waves are coming from UK a little slow.
You are muted. You're muted, Renuka. Renuka, you're muted.
Says the host is muted too. There, I'm fine now. So welcome everybody. Sorry, I tried to change my name, but I just couldn't. If you can do it there somehow, I don't mind that, Vimal. But otherwise, it was asking a whole list of things to be done. So it's the mother speaking for the son.
The name has been changed, ma'am. So
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vimal. You're really good at all this. Hello, everybody, all my friends. Hello, good morning, Keval sir. How are you? Oh no, Keval to aayi nahi, wo to aana tha. He hasn't come. He used to send us a message. Hello, Hari.
Hi.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Oh, it's for me. It's just morning. So, oh, hello, Colonel Kader. How are you?
Yes, ma'am. Very good afternoon to you. Very good morning to you, brother. The UK time.
Aruna, Rita, Inderjeet is there. Yeah. Wonderful to see you all. And so as of now, how many teachers have we got, Vimal?
I think the number was around 110 or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a nice size.
And we're keeping the registration on till today evening because we'll be putting this
Okay.
and also, so they can.
I see, Vimal, that Dr. Pramesh has also joined in. Can you please just take him up and also unmute him?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
This is Pramesh here. I'm having some problem because the camera is not getting detected by the computer. So I'll log in from another device in a minute or two.
Right.
Okay.
Jyotsna ma'am is not.
I just had a chat with her. And in fact, I was asking her whether she's going to use her virtual background or not. So she said, no, I'm not using it. So because I was finding it also very odd. It wasn't filtering in very well. Inderjeet, I see even you're not using it. You are the brains behind it.
I tried, but I couldn't do it, so I just left it.
Okay, no, I did it, but it was becoming very transparent, a lavender thing with the complete background being as it is.
I don't know. I know how it is to be done. I am trying my level best, but still I am not able to put it.
Yeah, but I think
this is the way it has to be done.
Aruna has been able to do it very well.
Yes, she has. I told her that
I called my son yesterday to get it done.
I thought it was my daughter-in-law was doing it. We tried it. It didn't fit in well at all. So we thought, let's dispense with it. I spoke to Jyotsna. I said, are you going to use it? She said, I don't think so.
Your voice is not clear, Mrs. Prasad.
My voice is not clear. Is it better now?
Yeah.
It's fine, ma'am. Yeah, I think
I'll
so.
get the mic right in front.
Maybe there is something wrong with my.
So please request that if all of you can just check your audio, mic system, so that Yeah, so and all dear colleagues who have joined in this FD, we welcome on behalf of GAD-TLC. Very shortly, we are going to start. Just be with us.
I'll just call Jyotsna and check out.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Dr. Pramesh is right in his.
Not there, right from the.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon.
So now we can see the video.
Where? Oh,
Good afternoon, all. How are you?
she's there.
Oh,
Maybe in what name? Yeah, now she's co-host.
yeah, she's on the second part of the screen.
Okay, now you've let me in. Yes.
Thank you, Chirag. Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, ma'am. Yeah. Good afternoon.
Hi, Hari.
Hi, hello.
Ma'am, ke liye to it's very early morning. Good morning, ma'am.
Not so early. It's a nice time. 10:30.
Okay, 10:30. Then it's comfortable.
Yeah.
So, shall we start, ma'am, or?
Yes.
Yeah, still at 50% attendance.
I suppose they'll all come in.
They'll come in, and anyhow, we are having this flexible mode also, so we'll give them recorded sessions as well. So,
Dr. De Cruz has come.
We'll have to look for him also.
Maybe you should remind him.
I've just switched off my phone. Chalo, I'll remind him again.
Okay, so here we go. Good afternoon, each and everyone. Very warm welcome on behalf of Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, a center of Ministry of Education under the prestigious Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme. I welcome you on in this very prestigious program, a unique program, I'll say, that is 1 week online National Faculty Development Program, which is an interdisciplinary program. And here it is themed on teachers to be developed as mentors for student internship on cancer awareness. Starting from today, we will be taking this 1 week till 11 July, but it is going to be followed by another phase. And I'm sure all of you are waiting to know more details. And still, many of your colleagues, if they have missed out registering yesterday, the registration is open till tonight, and you can join in this program. You can tell your colleagues also to join. So I welcome all the dignitaries, the ICS team especially, and GAD-TLC team, and most importantly, let me mention here the entire ICS team, because this is the entire program has been designed in consultation with this premier NGO working in the field of cancer awareness and all others related, and we'll be knowing more about that. I welcome Mr. Hari L. Mudras, the chairman, Indian Cancer Society, Mumbai. Mrs. Jyotsna Govil, chairperson, ICS Delhi branch. Mrs. Renuka Prasad, Honorary Secretary, ICS Delhi branch. Dr. Anil De Cruz, President, Union International Cancer Control. And sir, delighted to have you here because we are waiting to listen to your keynote address. We also have Dr. C.S. Parmesh, the Director, Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai. And we have other ICS prominent team members who have co-designed entire program. Mrs. Aruna Ahmed, Dr. Inderjeet Sethi, Dr. Priya Parmar, Mrs. Rita Bhalla, Mrs. Seema Bajaj, and many, many others who are working in the background to take this further. And most importantly, all my dear colleagues who have joined as participants from different parts of the country, welcome to yet another exciting program by GAD-TLC. And this is going into a next direction where how the education system can really do some work towards very sincere causes like cancer awareness, and also do the community outreach service, which also is a parameter as per the NAC, that as education institutions, where are we doing outreach programs? So this will also be catering to that requirement. GAD-TLC, as I told you, is a Ministry of Education Center under the prestigious scheme, which is Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching. Situated at my own premier institution, Shri Guru Tegh Bahadur Khalsa College, a constituent college of University of Delhi, I welcome you on behalf of my principal, Professor Jaswinder Singh, my entire governing body, and on behalf of University of Delhi. And at this center, we are seeking blessings from none other than Guru Angad Dev Ji, second of the 10 Sikh Gurus, under whose name we are taking this center ahead. The center has a state-of-art infrastructure in terms of training requirements of the teachers, not only in terms of face-to-face, but also in the online mode. The center was inaugurated on 1st July 2016 by the then Honorable HRD Minister Smriti Zubin Irani ji. And just recently, last month in May, she came to our college again and she felicitated the entire GAD-TLC team because we have crossed 70,000 teachers in terms of the training programs that we have been doing. And especially in the last 2 years, this number has increased many folds. And no doubt we have having all this in guidance of a preeminent academic pool. We have eminent academicians with us, headed by Professor A.K. Bakshi as chairman. We have Professor Bhanumurthy, Professor Chadda, Aditya Bhattacharya, Dr. R.P. Singh, and myself and my principal, Professor Jaswinder Singh. We are taking this in the ground level, we'll say administration. And I, Vimal Rar, welcome each one of you. And especially the special welcome in this inaugural, we will be having Shri Hari L. Mundra ji. Sir, very delighted to have you amongst us. We have been interacting with the Delhi branch, so we are keen to listen to you. And we will have the keynote address by Dr. Anil Dikruz. We'll also have, we have guest of honor, Dr. C.S. Pramesh, who is the director, Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai. Sir, we are also keen to listen to your kind words and give us more enlightenment on these front. And especially, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Josna Govil ma'am, who has been, I think, the key conceptualizer of this entire program and spearheading the entire team at ICS Delhi branch. And along with her, we have Renuka ma'am, Aruna ma'am, who will be taking this program further. So, very briefly, I'll be telling you why we are having this FDP, because till now we had the FDP of 1 week and it was like, okay, done. But then this faculty development program is unique and we are actually starting a series of different themes where the teachers will be now, once they are acquainted with this particular theme, which is cancer awareness here, they will be taking 5 student interns minimum in the phase 2. And then they will be taking this as an outreach program with them acting as mentors. So this FDP will actually act as a model of experiential learning to help the teachers build 21st century skills and value-based education, because when the interaction is happening in smaller group and teacher, I'm sure all these themes which are envisaged in NEP 2020 and outcome-based education will also in some way or the other will be integrated, and we will be giving you the entire rubrics also how they are being integrated at the later time. It will also help institutions to work towards the goal of community outreach as required for NAC and other accreditations. So under this theme where FDP along with mentorship, we are starting 2 programs. One today where it is on cancer awareness, and the next one is on safer and greener chemistry lab. Myself being a chemistry teacher, it has been our own experience that in school education system and at senior levels as well as in UG and PG level, there is so much environment pollution that we do. So how as group with students, we can do the outreach program in other schools, that is how that is themed. But going towards this particular program, I think no better person, but I'll request Josna ma'am to take it further. And before that, let me just tell that yes, those who are joining in phase 1 completing, there are different requirements where you will be getting certificate of a routine FDP which is eligible as per CAS requirements. And in phase 2, these teachers will be acting as mentors with the students, who will be then going into the defined works, which will be telling you in detail projects and the sessions. And then there will be internship certificate, which will be in collaboration with Indian Cancer Society. So all the hand-holding, the student material, the assignments, the projects, the quizzes, the recorded videos, all as required for the phase 2 will also be given to the students who will be joining in the phase 2. So now I will request Josna Govil ma'am, chairperson of Indian Cancer Society Delhi branch, to ma'am please take the further and give the welcome address on behalf of ICCS. And I will also request you to introduce your team of trainers and the thoughts on this particular. And before ma'am does that, I think she again needs no introduction, but very briefly to the academic community. She has worked in cancer control for now nearly more than 38 years, and she's a self-taught expert and mentor to ICS Delhi for training and awareness, screening and patient support. Volunteers of this branch have delivered on all fronts. And this I have seen from last 5-6 years, I have been closely associated. So really I can see the pioneer and the work that has been done in terms of quality and quantity. ICS has been doing sterling work in fighting cancer across India, and it has been and continues to be the beacon of hope for thousands of underprivileged cancer patients. ICS connects the community to reliable cancer services and prevention efforts, and through awareness and screening, the conquest of cancer is by choice, not chance, as ma'am always says. ICS has developed the cancer awareness self-paced MOOC also, which is available on SWAM platform. So all of those who are keen to go into more in-depth learning, they can log in there. And I'm happy to share that it was built up along with our collaboration at STTB Khalsa College. And ma'am Govil believes that cancer awareness is vital in the conquest of cancer. And as we are moving into the NEP and how this internship model will be integrated, I think this is an opportunity to grow and take it to even nooks and corners of the country from a different dimension from education perspective. So I welcome you, ma'am, and please take the floor further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vimal. Good afternoon. Namaskar, Vanakkam, Sat Shri Akal to everybody who's there. I would like to add our Indian Cancer Society team to the educational group that surrounds Vimal, and to feel that we can contribute as much to the growth of the nation as all of you wonderful teachers, professors, doctors are. It's my privilege to introduce Indian Cancer Society to you. And I will start with just telling you that we have grown in every way. Our society started in 1951, as Mr. Mundra will tell you in a little while. But in Delhi, it started in 1984. And it started with perhaps 6 people in all, and that included our driver and our stenographer. And now we have moved from a borrowed office. We couldn't afford to pay rent. We borrowed an office from a well-wisher, but today we have our own beautiful office in South Extension, New Delhi. Our volunteer force has grown to over 100 men and women, ready and willing to go into the community to spread the word. Cancer is curable when detected early. Our operations have always included cancer awareness and cancer screening. Awareness talks were always the backbone of our activity, because we really believe that only when people understand the nature of the beast can anyone really attempt to overcome it. Cancer from being one of the most feared of diseases, is probably the only NCD which claims to cure with the rider when detected early. Our awareness teachers are trained, our awareness speakers, are trained. They have a reference manual, a training manual that we have created. There is the online course on Swayam that Vimal has talked about. We have a mobile app, which is in the process of being upgraded. So all of this adds to our work in cancer awareness. Radio talks take our message out as the voice multiplier. Our little in-house social media team makes sure that messages get out. All of it is important cancer awareness work. Primary screening, preventive primary screening is a big part of it also. And we primarily screen for cancerous lumps and lesions, but this is also important to bear in mind that for most of our clients, this is probably the first opportunity they have for a proper ethical medical checkup. We don't take shortcuts. So we offer them a whole gamut of tests, including blood tests, a chest X-ray, an examination by an ENT specialist, by a male physician, and by a female gynecologist. All our staff have been with us for a very long time. And so they realize that it is the respect that we give to each of our clients that is the biggest motivating force, far more impressive than any equipment that we can carry. Emotional support to patients and caregivers was something that started a good 6 years after we had been working in Delhi. It is a crucial part of our work because, as any cancer patient or survivor will tell you, the journey through cancer does not begin in a hospital and certainly doesn't end in a hospital. So we have our group of really dedicated cancer survivors who put their own fears and their own anxiety aside to visit hospitals. You can see our picture of two wonderful women who are regulars as hospital visitors. Usha Ohri on the right of your screen has been a cancer survivor since I think it was 1992. And she has continued to work relentlessly, endlessly, holding hands, giving hope to all the patients that have come through our doors. The survivorship is not merely a passive act that you have survived cancer. Survivorship is an active involvement by the patient, by the caregivers, including the doctors, to make sure that life after cancer becomes, if possible, even more meaningful than it was before. And so came Prashanti, our healing and rehab center. Just the fact of meeting other people who have been down this road, who understand, really understand what cancer is about, has been something that is quite an amazing experience for people who are otherwise locked away in isolation almost. Our volunteers bring ideas to us and we try to implement the best of them so that we continue with offering solace, offering comfort, offering joy to everyone. Look, little fellow in the center with his laddus. He is a child patient. For most of the week, his world is the world of a hospital. very dry, very frightening for a young man. But then he comes to us once a week for a home-cooked meal, for games, for fun, which our volunteers organize. And the happiness in a space is there for everyone to see. Our group of Cancer Sahyog also realizes that there is such a thing as a paucity of money to even afford basic treatment. And so we have a medical assistance committee. We have generous donors who keep us going, and we offer medical assistance to those who require it, those who are recommended by the doctors, and we do the best we can. 2 lakhs over 2 years is not a large amount, but at least it keeps people afloat until they get organized and perhaps raise money through all the many other sources that Rekha Gulabani will talk about during the course of this week. We truly, truly believe that the conquest of cancer is by choice. It's certainly not by chance. And we hope that there will be less of stigma, of fear, of denial in the world of cancer patients so that they come forward for a meaningful life after cancer. Now, allow me to introduce our wonderful team. Yes, thank you. I'm not even going to try and introduce Vimal Rar. We have subsumed her into the Cancer Society, made her very much part of it. We make huge demands on her, and she very smilingly manages to accommodate them. So Vimal, thank you so much for all your support through the GAD technical team. Mrs. Aruna Ummat is a former teacher, a principal and administrator from DPS schools. She came to us seeking some activity in her retirement. I don't think she ever realized how deep she was going to be drawn in. She now heads our very vital training team, creating and curating all the information that we can get. We are none of us doctors, but we do read, we do consult, we do work with doctors, and Aruna is the conduit that brings it all back to us. Dr. Inderjeet Singh is a retired professor of biology from Khalsa College, Delhi University. She was instrumental in introducing us to this group in Khalsa College, and we thank you, Inderjeet, for that. She brings her experience of college training so that she keeps us on the path of being relevant to all of you university teachers. Mrs. Rita Bhalla is a cancer survivor and the immediate past president of Cancer Sahyog, our emotional support group. She is ever kind, ever cheerful, really a joy to be with, and someone who brings a lot of comfort to many people. Thanks, Rita. And finally, Seema Bajaj. She is our warrior. She's always seeking perfection, probably making life uncomfortable for herself, but certainly she adds huge value to all that we are doing. Seema is a social worker. She edits beautifully our various brochures and literature. Her eye for detail is her best asset, I guess. So again, thank you, Seema, for all that you bring to us. Dr. Priya Parmar is a homeopath by profession, by training. But in ICS, she is an ideator par excellence. She brings us millions of ideas. We try to keep up with her. And as you will find, she's a very joyful mentor to all our interns because she relates to the younger people far more than any one of us. Thank you, Priya, for all your work and effort. We don't always appreciate it, but we do thank you for all that you're doing. Anuj Sharma, he was a survivor himself, a childhood survivor. He is now with us and he is our real treasure because he puts together all our ideas. He is, I think he has technical skills in which he learned. He has a training also in computer education. But more than anything else, he deals with frightened patients with so much empathy that they go away from our office feeling validated and feeling valued. He looks after the medical assistance committee and brings the human touch to all his technical skills. And our Choti, Priya Tiwari, she came to us only a few years ago, but she has such creative skills and so much dedication to producing the kind of social media output that we demand of her, that she's quite remarkable. Thank you very much, Priya Tiwari. We really appreciate your work. And finally, the star of our show, Renuka Prasad. She's our honorary secretary, has been with the branch for over 2 decades, brings her experience as cancer survivor, as administrator, as speaker to all our activities. We don't know what we could do without her. So congratulations to all my colleagues. I really, really treasure you. Now let me hand you back to Vimal.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for making us aware about what ICS is doing and also about the entire team. And now I will be requesting and before I request Renuka ma'am, those who still are thinking that, yes, we have missed out joining this program, still there is time. You can use these registration links and do join. You have TLC workshop at the @tlckhalsa.in. You can get your queries solved. And now I will request Madam Renuka Prasad, who is the Honorary Secretary, Indian Cancer Society, Delhi branch, to please take the proceedings further and introduce our valued guest of honors and keynote one by one. Please, ma'am. You'll have to unmute yourself. I think, ma'am, you are muted. Renuka.
No, I somehow muted myself.
Yeah, please. Now we can hear you.
So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on board the FDP program, as we are calling it, rather than the faculty development program. I think over this period of time, we prefer the abbreviated version of the FDP. The mere fact that we have so many bright teachers really gladdens our heart, more so with the thought that we are passing the baton of awareness on cancer control into the hands of the teachers who help in shaping the nation by educating the children. Indian Cancer Society has the health-seeking mission, which Jyotsna has just briefed you about, and the work that we are doing in this field. The aim of this particular educational model for us is basically, one, to understand that cancer is preventable and it is lifestyle related. That means it is within our own hands. And the foundations have to be laid in the childhood itself. The second one is to create a dynamic resource of health educators carrying the cancer control message far and wide by utilizing the educators. And of course, the third aim is basically to augment cancer education at professional levels and includes lifestyle education so lacking in college curricula. This faculty program, development program, has been thought out very carefully by the teachers, by the volunteers who have worked on it tirelessly, keeping the new education policy in mind, of course, with a lot of help from Vimal also. And this spells out, basically, I quote, the attainment of a holistic and multidisciplinary education, the flexible and innovative curricula of all HEIS, that's the higher education institution, shall include credit-based courses and projects in the area of community engagement and service, environmental education, and value-based education. So as a consequence, universities are now restructuring the graduation programs from the present 3-year into the 4-year by designing curriculum wherein there will be due weightage of participation of students in various activities, projects, and the community outreach each year of their study. Towards this, we have adopted a collaborative approach by partnering with the Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, Ministry of Education, conducts training programs, and the Vidyavani Foundation, whose LMS system is going to be used this training program. Now, implementing partner is, of course, the Guru Angad Dev Training Learning Center, about which Dr. Vimal Ra has spoken at length and explained the intricacies of this. Under the center, there are lots of national level workshops which are being conducted at both the basic and the advanced levels. And these are there to empower the teachers in developing the skills, development teaching kits, and teachers' tools and pedagogy to enhance the teaching learning experience. There is the Vidyavani Foundation also, about which Vimal has spoken. And we know it's a Delhi-based NGO, and it's working towards empowerment of teachers in higher and school education. And the portal that it's working through is the LMS, the Learning Management Systems, which name is www.my-eclass-academy. And we are going to be also working our own modules of the FDP through this. So many trainings are organized and implemented through this platform, which is headed by Dr. Ved Prakash, the chairman of the university, ex-chairman of the University Grants Commission. I would like to thank Dr. Vimal Ra, who has so zealously worked along with us to bring this course to all of you. Vimal is Joint Director, Guru Angad Dev Learning Center, and being a senior professor of chemistry at Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur, Khalsa College, Delhi. So a brief of the slide which is there in front of you, which highlights the course modalities. You are going to be taken through the exciting journey of learning about cells as the building blocks of life and how they turn rogue to the overwhelming statistics of a cancer tsunami and how it can be curtailed or slowed down by individuals being aware of the causes, the risk factors for cancer, highlighting the major risk factor, which is the common thread running through the common cancers, which will be taught along with the factors that have majorly contributed by human consumerism and greed. Consumption of tobacco by alluring community towards this addiction is one such example, and a glaring one, because you can see how it is the commercialization of the sale of tobacco which is creating this menace. And this holds good for other non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and also stroke, about which we will be addressing. Besides this, you would also be exposed to social issues around cancer, which address myths, stigmas, and hand-holding, which is basically the key in the cancer journey. And being empowered with knowledge is the key to early detection, as there is a cure after cancer. And as a cancer survivor, I can really vouch for this aspect, because I'm here since the past 25 years only because of the early detection which was there for me. So this goes with our statement of intent, as Jyotsna has just told you, the conquest of cancer by choice and not chance. We should discover it ourselves, knowing the first signs of cancer. So technically, you will learn also about treatment modalities and care pathways, as well as the importance of protecting your physical and financial health through health coverage. I hope you enjoyed this journey of learning as much as we all have enjoyed in trying to put it together. So I'll just give you a little small quote here that I will teach in a room. I will teach you on Zoom. I will teach you in your house. I'll teach you with my mouse. I will teach you here or there, but I will teach you because basically I care. Thank you so much for this patient hearing that you all have given me today. I would now like to invite our chairperson, Dr. Hari Mundra, to come in and give us his words of wisdom at this launch of the faculty development program.
Thank you, Renuka, and thank you, Vimal. Actually, very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of Indian Cancer Society, the National Managing Committee. I'm both proud and delighted to be here on a day which I consider to be not a red letter day, but the green letter day for Indian Cancer Society, because I had never thought that ICS would and could become part of the new education policy 2020, both in its framework as well as in terms of contents. But our Delhi branch, led by Jyotsna and Renuka and all the others you have met, have made the unthinkable happen. So my kudos and my applause to them and to the entire team. What underlies this unique effort and achievement is the spirit of innovation and collaboration, which gave birth to ICS 70 years back, and which continues to define its character and longevity. In this age of disruption, as we all know, and of black swan events such as COVID or Ukraine crisis, organizations tend to age and die very fast, especially NGOs for whom the death of the founder is often the cause of the death of the organization itself. But ICS today is 70 years old due to its DNA of innovation and collaboration driven by the zeal of founders' mentality. Let me give you some examples of innovation and collaborative spirit from its 70-year-old history. You would be very surprised to know that ICS was the first one to set up the cytology and chemotherapy units in the 50s in collaboration with Tata Memorial Hospital. Those were the days when surgery was the only viable option and chemotherapy was not treated as a very effective remedy for cancer. So it was ICS which set it up in collaboration with Tata Memorial, who then finally took it over under their fold. ICS also set up the first screening and rehab centers in 1961 and 1979, again with the help of Tata Memorial Center. ICS set up the first private population-based cancer registry in collaboration with ICMR in 1963. So the Maharashtra is covered by ICS in terms of a cancer registry. ICS also set up the first publication, scientific publication, index publication called Indian Journal of Cancer in collaboration with many cancer-specific organizations. And it then set up the first survivorship program for child cancer patients in the form of UGM, which was 2009, and Project Picasso in 2016, along with Tata Memorial Hospital and 11 other partner hospitals in the country. So it is really a pan-India setup. It also set up, you will be surprised to know, 2 cancer hospitals. One was in Delhi, which is Rajiv Gandhi Hospital, 1996. And in 2020, with the help of HCG and KHPL, we have set up another cancer hospital in South Bombay. So it is a very unusual thing for an NGO to become the promoter of cancer-specific hospitals. We initiated, as was discussed by Renuka and Jyotsna, mobile app called M-Shakti for cancer awareness, and set up the e-learning course of 40 modules, which have already got 9,000 enrollments today. Again, with the help of Khalsa College, University of Delhi. We also set up the first mutual fund of its kind for funding cancer treatment. And this was done in 2011, along with HDFC and Tata Memorial Hospital. Today, we have 18 members hospitals in this scheme, and we have disbursed 200 crores rupees in the last 10 years to 12,000 beneficiaries. And now we have also set up a video-based online cancer education program for guess who? For GPs, the general practitioners, the primary health providers, so that they can become the pioneers of carrying the cancer control story forward. And this is through the videos named as Conversations on Cancer. So you can see, and this has been done with 6 partners hospital. So you could see that Indian Cancer Society has embarked on the journey of cancer awareness and control through a variety of efforts and initiatives. A lot of them revolve around education. And therefore, I'm particularly proud of the fact that the launch of online cancer awareness program today as a part of the faculty development program under the NEP 20 is something which ICS has become a part of the pioneering group. You know, I quote NEP 20. It says, a quality higher education must enable personal accomplishment and enlightenment, constructive public engagement, and productive contribution to the society, leading to holistic individuals. What ICS has done today in collaboration with Vidyavani Foundation and Khalsa College is to develop a cancer-focused education program for faculty and students to save lives. I recently lost my brother-in-law due to lungs cancer. It was caused by his 50 years of smoking. If each of you can influence at least one individual, one student, one family member to give up tobacco or not to take up tobacco, you would have saved one life. So I urge to all of you, all the faculty members who are going to be the students today, to be the life ambassadors, and then you will become the beacons of hope for us. All the best for both learning and teaching. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mundra, for all your words of wisdom. Definitely, each one needs to take this course up. I now take great pleasure in inviting Dr. Parmesh, CS Parmesh, since Dr. Mundra has also spoken so much about the Tata Memorial Hospital and how we started there. It is my pleasure to introduce you as the director of the Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai, and also as the convener of the National Cancer Grid. Now, you have been a professor of thoracic surgery at the Tata Memorial for over 10 years now. So with your vast experience, I'm sure you will be able to have a good control over the cancer activities which are going out there, and how we can help you in this is something that we would love to understand and know much more about. There is reams and reams about you which I find on the internet, and I feel nothing is more appropriate than the fact that you at this young age have taken over as the director of the Tata Memorial Hospital, the most prestigious cancer center of the country. So Dr. Parmesh, may I ask you to request you to please address the gathering here today?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's indeed an honor to be part of this launch, and I'll take this opportunity to thank the Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, as well as the Indian Cancer Society, especially the New Delhi chapter, for inviting me to be a part of this really good function. It's a great idea to have teachers who have the ability to influence millions of minds to be the torchbearers of spreading awareness about something that is quite a lethal disease. So I'll start with some facts. Last year, approximately 10 million people died of cancer in the world. And by 2030, it's expected that this number is likely to go up to 13 million. What actually these numbers hide is the fact that every 4 seconds, there is someone dying of cancer in the world. So by the time I'm done with my talk, 150 new deaths would have happened because of cancer. Clearly shows that it's a major public health burden. The worrisome part is that the cancer burden is likely to increase. And this increase is disproportionately higher in low-middle income countries like India. By 2035, it is expected that 70% of all cancers in the world will occur in low-middle income countries. And for those of you who have been following the cancer treatment, newer discoveries in cancer treatment that's happening, you will realize that all of this comes at a substantial cost, which means that the inequity in access to cancer care will get even wider, with the result that the differences in outcomes between high and low income countries becomes even more stark. The bigger problem here is that in low middle income countries such as India is a good example of this, most patients come at a very advanced stage of the disease. You've heard several others speak before me who emphasize the importance of prevention, screening, and early detection. But these are easier said than done, and I'll come to these in a minute. Far too often, the efforts of most policymakers and governments have been on treatment, on creating new treatment facilities. And to me, this is a flawed paradigm, because you could create 100 newer cancer centers in India and you'd still not be able to address the problems that we face. And that's primarily because our overall expenditure on public healthcare expenditure on healthcare is extremely low. It's just 1.5% of our GDP, compared to other countries like Thailand, which is 6 to 7%, the UK, where it's 10%, and in the US, where it's close to 18%. So the result of all of this is that every year, 6% of our population falls into abject poverty purely because of healthcare related costs. So which brings me back to this flawed paradigm of focusing all our efforts on treatment. To me, the key elements of cancer control, in addition to treatment, which I wouldn't trivialize, are prevention, screening, and early detection. Though these might be ideal, I'll come back to why these are difficult nuts to crack. When it comes to prevention, there are 3 major known risk factors for cancer, which are the excessive use of tobacco and alcohol, the lack of physical activity or increased obesity, and certain infections. When it comes to tobacco, there are probably over 4,000 chemical compounds which are present in cigarettes. And several of them are directly carcinogenic, which means that they're directly responsible for causing cancer. And in India, this is much more compounded by the fact that smokeless tobacco is a much bigger problem than smoked tobacco. The result is that even children as young as 10 to 12 years of age start using tobacco in the chewed form. And that's something that's even culturally seemed to be acceptable. And in some ways, avoiding tobacco in certain parts of India is even considered disrespectful of one's culture. So clearly, that's one of the biggest areas to look at. More than 13 cancers are directly related to the use of tobacco. The second is on physical activity. So the risk of cancer directly goes down as your level of physical activity increases and as the levels of obesity go down. The third important aspect of prevention is by avoiding infections. And this is primarily due to infections like hepatitis B, hepatitis C, the human papillomavirus, which causes cervical cancer, and the H. pylori, which causes stomach cancer. So better hygienic practices, better food preservation can go a long way in reducing these infections. Now I'll come back to why these prevention areas are difficult. Getting someone to quit tobacco is one of the most difficult things to do. Most so-called successful tobacco campaigns have less than a 10% success rate. So the key here is to never start rather than try and get people to quit. While quitting tobacco or urging people to quit tobacco is laudable, success rates are not very high. And this is in spite of all concerted efforts to do so. So New Zealand, for example, now started a policy where anyone born after a particular year, so typically they look at what adulthood is. So if India were to enact such a law, anyone who was born after 2004 is not allowed to buy any tobacco product. So thereby creating an entire generation of individuals who have never used tobacco, and thereby it's much easier to reduce the overall number of people who use tobacco. Again, this is easier said than done. What is also important is political will, and it is clearly shown that if you increase taxes on tobacco, consumption goes down and the government income increases. Nevertheless, the tobacco lobby worldwide is an extremely powerful one, and it has been very difficult for most governments to be able to enact these laws. Coming to physical activity and avoiding obesity, I think all of us have gone through this at some points in our lives where we make very well-intentioned efforts to be more physically active, to reduce weight, to be on a good diet. But all of us who've been through this realize it's much easier said than done. So nevertheless, it's still important to reiterate the fact that increased physical activity, exercise, and having a high fiber diet, which is low in red meat, is a good way to go about this. So these are the aspects as far as prevention go. The next step is in screening. And with screening, you have certain well-established techniques like mammography for breast cancer, the pap smear, or the HPV DNA for cervical cancer, and so on. But in a country like India, where the infrastructure and the human resource to do these types of screening is extremely limited, we need to look at our own solutions. So the Tata Memorial Center ran two very large randomized trial, which answered these questions quite conclusively, showing that low-tech screening methods, which could be done by healthcare trained health workers, could be as good as these more sophisticated ways of screening. So we now have very good established techniques for screening for breast cancer using clinical breast examination by trained health workers. We have an effective way of reducing cervical cancer mortality by using something called visual inspection with acetic acid. And we know that oral cancer mortality can be reduced by a very simple process of visual inspection of the oral cavity by trained health workers. So that's the next step. But again, going through the logistics of screening a population as large as India is what stands as a hurdle between actually implementing this. The final point I want to talk to you about is on early detection. And this is where the crucial aspect of awareness comes in. And this is something that I hope that this group is able to disseminate wide across the country. And to me, using students, teachers to disseminate this among students, and students in turn disseminating this both within their families as well as the general public is an excellent strategy that I hope will be effective. You might think why awareness is so important in the internet era, where there is so much of information available at the click of a button. The flip side of the internet era has been the kind of information overload that we've had, with the result that instead of informing individuals, people end up getting confused and overwhelmed by the enormity of the data that is put across to them. Not to mention the fact that many of these so-called information sites are not actually fact-checked. So it's important that the common signs of cancer are well understood. Myths of cancer diagnosis, like it's equivalent to a death sentence, you cannot survive if you have a diagnosis of cancer, need to be dispelled amongst the general public as well as the primary care physicians. At the Tata Memorial Center and the National Cancer Grid, we work tirelessly towards making sure that this dissemination continues on a real-time basis. And I'm really glad that the Indian Cancer Society is working with some of the most important stakeholders in this entire effort, which are the teachers, which in turn would disseminate this information amongst the students, who could then be flag bearers for awareness. I'll stop with that. And I again thank the Indian Cancer Society, the New Delhi branch, as well as the Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center for giving me this opportunity to be part of this very fascinating session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pramesh. And it was really wonderful the way you brought home the fact that awareness is the keynote and is followed with screening at regular intervals. Thank you ever so much for sparing your time to be with us. I now have the proud privilege to invite Dr. Anil De Cruz as a distinguished keynote speaker to this faculty development program. Dr. Anil De Cruz is a specialized head and neck cancer surgeon, and he has his qualifications start with, of course, with the normal MBBS, followed by the MS in general surgery, DNB, and FRCS on. He is a specialist in preventive screening, laparoscopic surgery of both obstetrics and gynecology, oral cavity cancers, laryngeal cancers, thyroid and parathyroid, etc. I have a whole list of his achievements here in front of me, starting with him being one of the top oncologists in the country. And his expertise in managing and treating issues such as head and neck cancer and the others that I just spoke about is really remarkable. He has a long list of accomplishments under his belt, and currently he is the president of the Union International for Cancer Control in Geneva, that is the UICC. And he has about 250 peer-reviewed publications and chapters to his credit, and he serves on the editorial board of a number of well-known national and international journals. We are really honored to have you with us here this afternoon as the keynote speaker. So may I please now request you to deliver your keynote address to the gathering out here. Thank you so much for agreeing to have taken this task up at the instance itself. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Dr. Anil De Cruz.
Thanks, Renuka. Am I heard?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for your very, very kind words of introduction. Sometimes when people introduce me, I'm very unsure who they're talking about, but thank you. It was so nice and for the kind words. Firstly, congratulations to Indian Cancer Society, to all the leaders, everybody who spoke before me. It's an important topic, and I must congratulate you all for this initiative on catching a very, very important group of people who can influence students, influence others, and help in this big battle that we have against cancer. And I've entitled what I'm going to speak, The Growing Epidemic. A lot of what I'm going to say has been said a little bit by Jyotsna, by your good self, by Hari, by Pramesh, and I'll just try to finally stitch this all together in simpler terms to help people listening to us get an overview of what the current way they could help us in our fight against cancer. Let me see. Okay, lovely. So as you said in my introduction, I wear two hats. I've always done that. I'm an oncologist, a surgical oncologist by training. I treat head and neck cancers. And for teachers, this is the #1 cancer in our country. Close to 30% of all cancers in our country are head and neck cancers. Earlier, when I was director at the Tata Memorial Hospital, the other hat that I wore was that of an administrator. I since have moved on. I continue to treat cancers, that's head and neck cancers, but I also am actively involved with the Union International for Cancer Control, For those of you all not familiar with it, it's the largest cancer control body globally, has members spread across 172 countries, and committed to the cause of cancer control. And towards the end of my talk, I will share a few slides with you on what work we do at the UICC. Now, we battled for years and years in our war against cancer. And for those of you all who are of my vintage, will probably recognize the man on the left, Richard Nixon, who was a president of the US in 1971. He had what is known as the National Cancer Act, where he raged or he declared a war against cancer. 40 years later, this war against cancer remains a major cause of death globally. In 2016, Joe Biden, who was then the vice president, now the president, revived this act and called it the 21st Century Cures Act of 2016, when his son succumbed to a brain tumor. As you can see, in the 40 years intervening, there has been some progress, but it still is the #1 cause of death. In 2017, 1,650 people per day died of cancer in the USA, and 1,68,780 patients would get cancer. Now, just to show you GloboCan or data from across the world, look at the third bullet that I have put. 12 million in the year 2012. 18 million people will get cancer or had cancer in 2018. And this number jumped to 19.3 in 2020. 1 in 5 men and 1 in 6 women worldwide will develop cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 8 men and 1 in 11 women will die of cancer. And globally, the #1 cause of cancer incidence and mortality is lung cancer, primarily because of tobacco. Now, today in India, we have cancers at about 100 per 100,000, as opposed to the West, where it is 300, 350 per 100,000. The incidence of cancers in our country are lower compared to the West. But here are WHO projections. Today, the incidence is more in the more developed countries, but as time goes on, the largest rise will be in the less developed countries, and countries such as ours with a population of 1.3 billion will see a huge number of cancer cases. Not only the incidence, but it will be a leading cause of mortality as well, outstripping those dying of heart disease, stroke, acute respiratory infections, road traffic accidents, as well as infectious diseases of HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. So we are going to have a rising incidence and cancer as the #1 cause of mortality as time goes on, and the biggest brunt will be in our parts of the world. Now, this is more distressing. In medical terms, we look at what's known as a mortality to incidence ratio. In the West, the last 2 columns on the right, USA and UK, for every cancer case that is diagnosed, every 3, 1 will succumb because of the disease. So that's why this ratio of 0.33 to 0.40. But in our parts of the world, the number will be double. So not only will we have more cancers, but we will have more people succumbing to this disease in our part of the world. And the majority of these patients, 2/3, will be less than 70 years of age in the most productive years of their life. So we have the problem of increased incidence, increased mortality, people dying in their prime of their lives, and this big tsunami hitting our part of the world. So how do we outsmart this problem? And whoever is listening, this will be applicable to you, whether you're a teacher, whether you're in Indian Cancer Society. For some of y'all, it'll be a repetition, but I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. We can outsmart this problem in 3 ways. We can prevent cancer occurring. We can do so by early detection. In early stages, 90% of cancers are cured. And we can also ensure proper treatment and improved outcomes of our patients. So we're first going to focus briefly on how we prevent these cancers. As again, everybody prior to me said, tobacco is one of the leading causes of cancer. 40% of cancers globally occur because of tobacco-related issues. This is more in our part of the world. And as I said, head and neck cancers, which I treat, are number 1. That's about a third of all our cancers. And then you add to it the lung and the food pipe and the various other cancers. So about maybe half the cancers in our country are tobacco-related. And that's because tobacco is a socially accepted custom in our country. It's seen all over in whatever we do. This little kiosk or pawn shop that I show in this photograph here is a kiosk between 2 chemists bang opposite the Tata Memorial Hospital. So I'm just emphasizing that it is a part or a way of life in our country. And then the photograph to the right, young ladies in the interiors of our country using tobacco in the mistaken belief that it's good for teeth, good for digestion, good for motions. And I think, again, it is very important for all of us, doctors, people committed to cancer control, as well as teachers, to take the message of tobacco control to the population. We look at tobacco consumption in our country with data from the Global Adult Tobacco Survey, or GATS. If you look at the extreme left panel, you will see that about 42.4% of people in our country use tobacco in some form or the other. That is 266.8 million people among those above the age of 15. Look at the consumption in those between 13 and 15, the youth. Tobacco users are close to 20%. And even among those who don't smoke or don't consume tobacco, in those above the age of 15, you can see nearly a third of them would be exposed to secondhand tobacco consumption or tobacco smoke. Many want to quit. The attempts to quit are nearly a third for both smokers and smokeless, those using smokeless tobacco. Many are advised by their healthcare workers, but the number that are successful are few. And important is that smokeless users find it more difficult to give up the tobacco habit. Now, it's important to know that the mean age of starting tobacco use is before 20. And teachers, this is very, very important for y'all, that you must target, y'all have a very captive population under your care, who, if you give them this tobacco message and they don't start by the age of 20, 90% of them will never use tobacco in their life. So that to me is one big message to y'all, and we would be able to prevent 40% of our cancers. And like I said, head and neck is common, an area of my specialty, and you can see the difference. 25 to 30% of all these cancers occur in the Asian region, as opposed to only 4 to 5% in the Western region. Second is obesity. We always believed malnutrition was bad for whatever we did on health. Those that are more than 10% above the weight for their height and age have an excess risk of getting cancer, and there are at least 6 types of cancer, and this is predominantly in women. But even in men, esophageal cancers, gallbladder cancers, kidney cancers, intestinal, colorectal, postmenopausal breast cancers, pancreatic cancers, and endometrial cancers. So second message, we need to tell people to eat healthy and stay within their weight. Third, infections. There are 4 infections that cause cancer. The human papilloma virus, which is responsible for cervical cancers, and it used to be the #1 cancer in women in our country. It's now in metropolitan India, breast cancers are most common. The Helicobacter pylori, which causes stomach cancers, hepatitis B and C, which again cause liver cancers, and something called the Epstein-Barr virus, which causes cancers at the back of our nose, in the nasopharynx, seen very common in the northeast of our country. So looking at tobacco, obesity, and infections, if you total the number of cancers that we get, close to 2/3 of our cancers would not be there. And therefore, another important message for you all is that cancer is preventable in the large majority of people and their lifestyle related. Not only cancer, it helps in avoiding other non-communicable diseases. And you just have to remember this 4-4-80 numbers that I've put up. 4 modifiable shared risk factors, which are tobacco, unhealthy diets, physical activity, lack of physical, and alcohol, are important for 4 major non-communicable diseases, which is heart, diabetes, cancer, and chronic respiratory disease. And these are responsible for 80% of all non-communicable deaths. So from prevention, if we cannot and we do get cancers, how do we treat them? If we treat them and diagnose them early in stage 1, we cure upwards of 90% with relatively little problems in function, cosmesis, as well as in costs. And Ramesh did share some data about how many people are wiped out in cancer care. Unfortunately, 60 to 80% of our cancers present this way. And I'm sorry to put up these ghastly slides, but can you imagine people walking around with something that's so visible and presenting to a hospital so late? And when you look at these late diagnoses, it's responsible for poor outcomes in our country. Here is a not very recent, but a not very old article published in the Lancet about a decade ago, looking at outcomes in 9 Asian countries. And you can see that for breast cancer, as one example, we are much lower than our neighboring China. And it's predominantly because we have our patients presenting late. Now, at 2 points in my career, I did a study, one in 1989 and one in 2014, looking at why patients present late. The number of patients in stage 1 and 2 were only 20%, and this is for head and neck cancers, which was an area of my specialty. The average duration was 7 months before they presented. There were reasons such as patients delaying themselves and the poor financial status of the patients. But the delayed diagnosis for other causes in 50% of people was because the primary care physician delayed diagnosis. And to me, that's lack of awareness. It wasn't part of our curriculum. As awareness increases, I think not only the primary care physicians, and I'll show you a little later, how all of us can help in early diagnosis. We can't have mass screening in our country. It's not cost effective. We don't have the money. We've got other priorities as well. And what we need to do is opportunistic screening or only high-risk screening. People who are at the highest risk of getting a cancer. We need to pick up symptoms early and identify lesions in the pre-malignant stage before they are malignant. The best method of identifying those who come under high-risk screening are those who have tobacco and alcohol habits, those that have a family history of certain cancers, those that have the signs and symptoms which go by an acronym called CAUTION, which I'll show you in the next slide. And if we focus on this group of patients, we'll get our patients at a much earlier stage. It's not cost effective and logistically possible for you to screen the entire population. So I would like you all to pay attention to these warning signs. It's from the American Cancer Society. It's a free download, and all you have to do is put this acronym called CAUTION, which is CAUTION, change in bladder or bowel habits, a sore that does not heal, unusual bleeding or discharge from anywhere in the body, a thickening, a lump in the breast or elsewhere, indigestion, difficulty in swallowing, an obvious change in a water or growth, and anybody who has a nagging cough, pain, or hoarseness of voice. This should alert the physician, maybe a teacher such as you all, or a patient that they need to go seek medical advice if they have any of these symptoms. And we don't need fancy tests to diagnose cancer. Oral cancer, we just need to shine light into the mouth. All the other tests are simple, easily available, and not costly. Lung cancer, a chest X-ray or a non-contrast CT. For gastrointestinal cancers, you just have to do a stool examination and look for occult blood. For prostate cancers in male, we can just do a blood test called a PSA, or someone needs to do a digital rectal examination. Breast cancer, mammogram, or as Pramesh said, a breast self-examination. Physicians can examine the breast. Cervical cancer, a pap smear, and leukemias, just a blood smear. We move to the third part, and that is how do we ensure proper treatment and improve outcomes of our patients among those that seek care. And this again is important for teachers and for all of us in this cancer control space to know. Unfortunately, and this is a morphed cartoon of the entire globe, that areas that have the largest population, which is in A, have the highest burden of disease, but they have the least number of medical schools and the least workforce. And this translates into poorer outcomes in our patients, and it's access, equity. Here is two graphs that I've put up from this book by Felicia Knoll on closing the cancer divide. Children who have cancer, and they're looking at leukemias and all cancers between low and high income countries, and we are looking at 100% mortality right up here. You can see low income countries have a higher mortality compared to the high income countries. And here again are 6 common cancers which are more or less curable: cervix, breast, testes, prostate, Hodgkin's, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And again, you can see low-income countries do substantially poorer than the higher income countries. So how your success to cancer care depends on where you live, and very often it's access. So we have fancy equipments, we have surgery, we have radiotherapy, we have chemotherapy, we have high-end imaging, but many of our countrymen cannot afford that. So we have to go back to prevention and early detection. What we need is strengthening not only our vertical strength in healthcare, which is like making specialty cancer hospitals. We need to simultaneously have horizontal growth in strengthening our primary healthcare. And if you combine the two together, what really we need for healthcare in our country is the diagonal growth. That means a combination of strengthening specialty centers as well as the primary health care. If you only did primary health care, it would take a long time before the impact is seen. So I think both have to go hand in hand, and diagonal growth in healthcare is what is most important. I make a point that when people are diagnosed with cancer, please take trouble to refer them to specialty centers that then being treated anywhere out. And I've put up data from the US to show you, looking at insurance records of nearly 500,000 patients in the US with cancer. You can see that hospitals who had high volume or high surgeon volumes definitely had better outcomes. And 50% of work that I do is among patients who have been treated inadequately outside. Patients should be treated in centers that adhere to guidelines. Another study that I did while I was at Tata's, looking at 1,500 patients, 62.8 treatment in Tata's and about 37% outside Tata's. And you can see the adherence to guidelines were more among centers that are academic as opposed to those in the community. I'm going to end with a very simple study that I did, and this is to drive the point home about equity. We looked at 116 consecutive oral cancer patients, and the hospital had both those that were subsidized or general class, and about half of them were private or they were non-subsidized, and we estimated the direct costs and the indirect costs. Direct costs are those that they pay to the hospital for medicines, beds, food, other procedures. And indirect was the cost taken to travel, stay out, waiting for treatment. And we did all this on a cost-based analysis model. The subsidized group or the general patients spent less on the direct costs, but that was not it. They spent 2 to 3 times more on the indirect costs because of long waiting lists. The unsubsidized or the patients who paid for their care spent 2 to 3 times more on the direct costs. But those that were subsidized, there was a greater non-compliance to completion of treatment in the subsidized group. So sometimes we build hospitals funded by government, and we do have patients waiting for a long time, having other expenditures, disease grows, and they then are burnt out at the end of the first phase of their treatment and are unable to complete the entire treatment, which in turn is a loss, because then you have higher mortality and you have waste of resource. So I think emphasis should be given on completion of treatment for everybody. I'm going to end with my last 1-2 slides just about the UICC, basically committed to the cause of cancer control. The mission statement is to unite the cancer community, to reduce the global cancer burden, to promote greater equity, and to integrate cancer control into the World Health and Developmental Agenda. And I think it's not only the UICC that has this fight, but all of us who work in cancer control, and the Indian Cancer Society, the oldest cancer control body in our country, has more or less a similar mission statement. Like the UICC, we have a number of members who are part, who help us towards this mission statement. And I think similarly, the Indian Cancer Society, with these kind of programs and with this lovely faculty development program, getting teachers like you to play a key role, will help towards control of cancer and this growing epidemic. So I'm going to end with the take-home message. Cancer is a global problem with an increasing burden in developing countries. Gross disparities in outcomes between the developed and the less developed. Focus of all of us should be on prevention and early detecting. And I think that's where all of y'all play an important role. And we must look at more affordable treatments, both for treatment and care of our patients. Thank you once again for this opportunity. I know a part of it was slightly repetitive because Many of my previous speakers had already covered it, but I tried to simplify and stitch this all into a little story that you all could all remember about. So thank you once again for having me over, and back to Renuka and the organizers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cruz, and for threading up this entire thing together. I know it has been a little repetitive, but at the end of the day, I think the basic take-home message is that prevention is what is important, which can come through the early detection and being aware of how to be able to prevent the cancer from coming in the first place itself. And of course, the basic thing is that we are looking forward to this program really delivering some good results at the end of the day. And we are grateful to everyone who's come here today to be on board with us and take this forward. Really like the way you all have cooperated and brought home the points that need to be taken care of. With this, I will now hand you over back to Vimal, who will carry on with the rest of the program. You all are free to go now. Thank you so much for your presence here this afternoon. It has been wonderful. And the take-home messages that each one of you have given will definitely pay dividends. And I think the fact that we've repeated this again and again by every speaker, that cancer is preventable and it can be controlled if there is a will to do the thing. So I think this is what is actually at the end of the day, it's wonderful that each one has repeated the basic point and reiterated this fact. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ronika. Thank you, Vimal. And thank you.
Thank you so much. I think very rightly made points that, and that's how we have designed this FDP, that this is so much touching each and everyone. And being important stakeholders of education system, I think the way we have interactions with our students, the young mind who are ultimately are going to be part of our entire society, if we can really make awareness in them and let them work on this theme, and that's how this we have designed. And I'm thankful to entire ICS team, all our guest of honors, chief guests who have given so much enlightenment on this front. I think this is really going to be learning experience for all of us, including me. And rightly said that yes, how we can take it to our education system to even, and let me apprise you all distinguished dignitaries here and our colleagues who have joined as participants, that there will be actually two phases. One where in immediate your own institution, once you have joined, you can also make your students, other students, not only that group, and the teachers in the education system from wherever you belong, and then also go to the society. So with these 5 kids, the minimum, as a group, we will be working each of them, and they will be going into various, we have designed various activities. I think Dr. Priya Parma will be sharing details in a later session once we are through with all the awareness. So this is really going to be very meaningful program. I personally, sir, let me tell you, this is the 85th FDP that we are doing in the last 2 years. And this one is really in the social concern, which is impacting all of us. And we keep on listening to the news coming. Yes, that person died. We have many close ones also. But then how not only the disease, but in the entire family, which gets impacted, and it is really difficult for them. So I think it's going to be learning experience for all of us. Thank you so much for being part of this inaugural event. And I'll request Aruna ma'am to please give formal vote of thanks before we proceed into proper technical sessions. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Vimal. I, Aruna Umat, have the privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of ICS. I extend my sincere thanks to the Chairman ICS, Mr. Hari Mundra, for gracing the inaugural session of this prestigious faculty development program. So many of us at ICS Delhi are meeting you for the first time virtually at this platform. You being at the helm of affairs of ICS, it is a great honor for us to have you as the chief guest. Sir, your sharing history of ICS spanned over 70 years not only put us in awe, but makes us proud that we belong to such a forward-looking NGO. Your carry-home message to motivate one smoker to quit smoking is very well appreciated. Thank you for your gracious presence. Dr. Pramesh, I have attended a few of the webinars hosted by you during pandemic and always appreciated the clarity of your thought with which you posed questions to the panelists to excite the audience. Your emphasis on awareness, prevention, screening, and early detection of cancer is surely the main focus of this training program. We sincerely thank you for sharing your thoughts today with the participants at such a short notice. Dr. De Cruz, you are a good friend and a well-wisher of ICS. It's always enlightening and inspiring to listen to you. You, as crusader of cancer control, always have meaningful and workable ideas to share. We are grateful to you for having spared valuable time out of your busy schedule to address this group of higher education teachers who will carry your message of tobacco control, checking obesity forward to the youth under their charge. Thank you, sir. A big thank you to you, Professor Vimal Raj, for initiating the thought process to enable ICS to plan this novel project. Without your efforts, it couldn't have been possible for us to spread awareness about various aspects of this dreadful disease, cancer, among the educated group. We hope that they in turn will mentor young students to learn how important it is to avoid risky lifestyle and to remain healthy. Now, I, on behalf of my ICS core team, will like to convey our gratitude to our two mentors, Mrs. Jyotsna Govil and Mrs. Renuka Prasad, for supporting us at every step. Mrs. Govil, sitting miles away, your time-to-time guidance and words of encouragement through crisp messages were indeed comforting. Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Prasad, you facilitated us with resources and arranging discussion meetings. When we got stuck at some point, your one sentence, "Don't worry, we will manage," made it all the difference. Thank you, Mrs. Prasad. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants for choosing this training program as your social responsibility project and becoming our voice multiplier to disseminate awareness about cancer control. We hope that through your mentorship, the younger generation will make informed choices about not only leading a healthy lifestyle themselves, but educate the community to do the same. We do hope that this week-long program you will find exciting and meaningful. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Vimal, do we have a 5 minutes break?
Now we'll take a 5-minute break, and dear colleagues,
And we get to
spread
the
this
business.
message to all your other colleagues also. So in case they also want to register to this very exciting program, where we can really do meaningful contribution to make our society better, please, the registration is open till tomorrow afternoon, and the links are given in YouTube, as well as you have this group. You have our numbers, you have your email ID. So Himanshi, I will request, please put the details again in this group so that they can share further. And thanks each and every colleague who has joined as a participant in this program for believing on us in this program. And I'm sure with all of your efforts, we are truly going to make this an exciting journey, not just 1 week, but the remaining phase 2, where we all will be taking it, designing it together. We will be looking forward to your inputs. And my special thank goes to Ministry of Education for giving us this big opportunity of the center to help our fellow colleagues, and through them to work for some bit improvement, that as a drop in the sea of ocean of changes, I think we are looking for, and through new education policy 2020, with these exciting ideas, I think we can really take some change happening. And I'm thankful to entire ICS team for taking this in this particular direction, because in this subject we are not experts. So it is always now in these themes we'll be looking for some partners who will be guiding us. And in your mind also, if you have an idea that yes, I can tie up with this industry, I can tie up with this NGO, and this is how we can take this particular cause further, we will be happy to take it that way. So thank you everyone, and now we will have just a small break, and don't go anywhere. We will be back and starting our technical sessions. Thank you.
I know. We expect you within 5 minutes, dear teachers, and just stretch your legs and come back. We are already a little late for our business sessions. Thank you.
So 4:40, we will start. I think, let me shrink to 4 minutes only. Yeah, please, thank you.